Alright, so in a gacha gaming world that has been dominated by Hoyoverse, there's one game that stands above the rest. Love and Deep Space. I wish I was kidding. This game has been dominating for so long, and I feel like this might be the first month in a while that it literally finally lost to Genshin Impact for the first time in a while. And hey, you know what? No hate on them. You know, they make their money. They do a good job doing it. They know their audience. Okay, they've even offered me a sponsor before, but like I'm not the target audience, right? And I would rather like put my efforts into games that I feel like have more substance to them, if you know what I mean. Which brings me to today's video. I wanted to talk about Wuthering Waves because currently I believe, and I think a lot of people are agreeing with this sentiment right now, that Wuthering Waves currently is the best gacha game right now. Because when we look at the landscape right now, and you take a look over, let's say at Genshin Impact, for example, they just wrapped up their main story arcs for Natlan. That means we're going to get a lot of filler after that, and their filler patches are not their best work, right? When you look at Honkai Star Rail, they just finished a bunch of filler. We just got a new world in Euphorius, but the problem is 3.0 was not hitting as hard as we all expected. It did not hit like it should have hit. You can tell they're cooking for some future patches because we're going to get 8 main story patches in Euphorius, which is the first time I think Hoyoverse has ever done that in one of their games. It's very ambitious and whatnot, so it kind of broke the norm, and so I think their 3.0 patch just did not cook. We'll see how things go, but as it stands right now, Honkai Star Rail, which is known for having one of the best gacha game stories in gacha, it just wasn't hitting, man, and it still has one of the best stories. They're just not telling their story very well right now. Then I pan over to Zenless Zone Zero, which I've been saying since launch was a game that was just going to get better. It just did not have itself quite figured out at its launch. It's almost like they didn't quite cook properly, or they needed maybe more player feedback. And once they got that player feedback, they started to, for example, reduce the amount of the TV system, which was just way too invasive in the game, more and more and more, until now we have it at a state that is enjoyable, that players really like. I think that the patch that we got, Caesar King and Bernice White with the Sons of Kaladin story arc, I thought that was a banger-ass story and a banger-ass patch. I really enjoyed that, and I think that was the turn for things for Zenless Zone Zero, going into a direction that like raised it to the next level. But I do still have some issues with Zenless Zone Zero, and I'll get to that a little bit later in the video. You can call it nitpicking, you can call it whatever you want, but when I try to think of the best gacha game in the scene right now, and I look over at Wuthering Waves, and I look at the 2.0 patch drop that we had relatively recently, and I'm thinking about what's coming in patch 2.1, which is only going to be like, what is that, like 9 days away now? Bro, I think that Wuthering Waves has separated itself from the rest of the crowd in its current game state above everybody else in terms of its quality, right? Especially when I think about its combat and whatnot, which is, in my opinion, the most important part of the game. Yes, of course, the waifu collecting, the husbando collecting, right? The gooning, right? The traversal, all of like the story, a lot of different things factor into this. And when I look at the overall picture, I think that Wuthering Waves currently, right now, is the best gacha game in the scene. Sure, that might change someday. Sure, it might change soon, but currently, I think it's the best. Just looking at the 2.0 story for a second here, I don't feel like there was ever really a dull moment, and when I compare it to, let's say, Honkai Star Rail, for example, and their 3.0 story, which has a lot going for it, the problem with Honkai Star Rail is they just didn't present their story very well. You're sitting there looking at the same screen, the same characters, the camera position never changes for like an extended period of time. But then when I look over at Wuthering Waves, they're just sitting there chatting like by the water, and the camera angles are changing, the characters are moving around, you're getting zoom in, you're like close-ups and then pan shots away, stuff that we used to see in Honkai Star Rail, but we haven't been seeing lately. Stuff we thought that we would get in 3.0, but we didn't get in 3.0. You get it like maybe like 5% of the time through the entire 3.0 patch. You get it all of the time through the 2.0 Wuthering Waves patch. When you just look at story alone, Wuthering Waves clears right now. So it just goes to show how important your presentation is. because Honkai Star Rail, I feel like, has one of the best stories in Gacha right now. I still feel like they need to have more balls and kill a few of their characters, but, you know, it is what it is. But, like, they're not presenting their story very well to us right now. 3.0, we thought, was when they were going to put more effort in and really start, you know, telling the story the way they used to tell the story. The same stuff that we saw in patch 2.0 of Wuthering Waves with how they were presenting the story to us, we saw those same exact techniques in Honkai Star Rail. Where do you think Kuro Games learned how to tell the Wuthering Waves story? From HoYoverse, the makers of Honkai Star Rail. So it's kind of wild to me that they decided that they wanted to fall off for no reason, right? They just decided they don't want to tell their story very well. Even though they know that they could, we all know that they could, but they're being lazy. And while HoYoverse is sort of dropping the ball right now with their storytelling, a game like Wuthering Waves is stepping it up and actually showing us the best storytelling they probably have ever done to this point so far, which is pretty awesome. And so I want to address this power creep situation now, right? We got to talk about it because it's a thing. It's been a thing in every single gacha game ever made. They want you to pull the new units, right? It happens, but some games do it better than others. I'll actually have to say that Genshin Impact has been not so bad about power creep for the most part, right? I mean, they're in, what, 5.3 right now? They're going to be going into 5.4 next. And, you know, how many of you still play Yelan, right? How many of you still play Bennett? How many of you still play Jing? You know what I'm saying? 4-star units, like units from way back in the day, people are still using to this day, and they're still top-end characters, right? So Genshin's not been too bad about this. Sure, we've seen some power creep recently, you know, we've seen characters like Arlecchino already get power crept by a character like Malvika, but, I mean, to be fair, you know, she's the Fire Archon. It kind of makes sense that the Archon's gonna be good, and if it's a Fire Archon, it's probably gonna be the best fire character on its release. That's fair, that makes sense. But it is a thing, it does happen. Honkai Star Rail has been worse about this recently. I think people used to complain about power creep in Honkai Star Rail way too much, but that was a long time ago now. And when you look at the current game state, power creep is here, and it doesn't seem to be getting any better. The only character that it seems like has been able to survive power creep is a character like Jing Yuan, who is a 1.0 character, to be fair. But he's kind of getting like an indirect, sort of almost accidental anti-power creep situation, because the character that's buffing him is Sunday, who is going to be a summoner buffer, and he has the best summon in the game right now. We just started the summoner meta. When a new summoner character comes out that's a main DPS, he's gonna be put on the bench, dog, okay? He's still going to be good. You can still clear with him, but my point is he will get power crept, right? And like it's rare you get a character like that. Characters that are usually you don't usually get immunity to power creep. What you usually get is characters that have longevity, like Acheron, you know, a character like maybe Fei Xiao, because Fei Xiao's ultimate just basically gets to do stuff regardless of what the meta is, right? So she'll still be relevant. Characters like Acheron will still be relevant, right? You'll still see some characters that have longevity, but power creep is real in Honkai Star Rail. And then when you look over at Zenless Zone Zero, which is a newer game, a lot like Wuthering Waves, but whoa, man, Zenless Zone Zero already has power creep, dog. Look at Miyabi. Miyabi is miles ahead of every single other character, and bro, Miyabi's the newest ice DPS. In 1.0, we got Ellen, which was the best ice DPS, and she's still a very strong character, but when you compare her to Miyabi, it's not even close. And Zenless Zone Zero hasn't even reached its 2.0 patch yet, and it's already got power creep like that. And then we just got Astra Yao, who's a monster buffer slash sustainer, right? Like, and to be fair here, I will be fair, because I do like to be fair, like, sustainability characters are the characters that are released the least. They're released less than any other character. DPS gets the most, then it's like supports and sub DPSs, and then you get like the supporter slash the supporter slash sustainability character. Because in Zenless Zone Zero, your sustain character typically also gives you buffs too, so it's kind of like in a way sort of like a hybrid slot. And Astra Yao is the second premium top tier character for that slot. So to be fair, you have Caesar King and Astra Yao. Those are 2 slots filled now, okay? So that, in all fairness, that's normal. But when you look at a character like Miyabi, damn, bro, that's kind of crazy that she's that much better than every single other character that I've seen people doing weird, goofy runs. Well, they'll use like the worst Miyabi team they could ever assemble, and then they'll compare it to like Ellen's best team possible, and the Miyabi team will do better by like a mile. It's bad, bro. But when I look over at Wuthering Waves and I see a character like Yuan, who was literally the first premium character ever released, he has a playstyle where if you play him optimally, and it is a tougher way to play him. You could play him brain dead and he still plays well, but you could play him in a tougher way and he performs like the other top DPSs around him. He's a 1.0 character and he still kicks butt to this day. And when I look over at some of these support characters or some of these sub DPS characters, I mean, Yinlin was also a 1.0 character, and I know many of you are still playing Zhangli Yao because he was the free character that we got, who, by the way, the free character that we got is one of the best in the game. Thanks, Kuro. That's actually an awesome thing, bro. And to be fair, Dr. Ratio in Honkai Star Rail, when he was given to us for free, he was also a top tier character, in all fairness. But I mean, bro, to this day, still, Zhangli Yao Yinlin combination team, that thing kicks butt. And Yinlin is a 1.0 character, bro. She's correct, man. Bro, when you look at Jinshi and you look at Cheng Li, these were 1.1 characters and still amongst the best characters in the game to this day. It, like, pretty much any new top tier character that comes out will be very strong, but are they necessarily going to be so much better than the other characters around them that it's a must pull or something like that? I don't feel that, right? I don't feel like there's any game where, like, any of the top gachas, there's a must pull. I know some gacha games, there are characters that release that are so much better than the rest that you're going to feel like an actual idiot if you don't pull them, but I don't feel that way about most of these top gacha games, right? You might feel that a little bit with Honkai Star Rail these days, but with a game like Wuthering Waves, I've never once felt that way. I've never once felt like if I get this character, it's going to make or break my account. Or if I don't get this character, it's going to make or break my account. The one exception is maybe a character like Shorekeeper, because again, we don't really get those sustainability characters that much. So in the early stages of a game, like with Zenless Zone Zero or Wuthering Waves, in all fairness, it's okay for one of those new units to come out and actually be like really, really good and valuable for everyone to pick up, because it's the first time we've ever really had that. Shorekeeper was our first premium sustainability character in Wuthering Waves, so of course, that's one of the rare moments of like, okay guys, pick this character up. It's kind of important. Like if you wanna be at top level play, it's kind of important to pick up that character. You know what I mean? And then when I look at character designs, Wuthering Waves holds up, bro. I mean, just look at Camellia, right? She looks great, and she's also got fan service, and you don't even have to do anything weird with your camera angle to see it either. And then, dude, Wuthering Waves has some of the best looking dudes in all of Gacha. Bro, like, there's not a lot of great looking guys in Gacha because they're stuck wearing the same weird sort of designs like all the time. Jian looks cool. Look at Jian. That's one of the best looking dudes I've ever seen in a Gacha game, bro. Straight up. And I don't even need to mention Cheng Li and Yinlin. You already know. By the way, Wuthering Waves, you guys need to release more guys, okay? You guys make some of the best dudes in all the Gacha, and there's like barely any of them, okay? By the way, where's Geshu Lin? If we don't get Geshu Lin by the end of the year, I'm gonna... I was gonna say something crazy, but I'll just be really upset about it and make a fuss on it on Twitter. To be fair, Zenless Zone Zero like actually stepped it up with their character rigging, meaning that the way the characters can be animated because of the way their skeletons are rigged for the characters is probably the best in all of Gacha right now. It's just, it's not close. Like, they actually stepped it up to to a level that is above pretty much everybody else that I could even think of right now. But when Wuthering Waves holds up, because I do feel like stylistically, Wuthering Waves does hold up very, very well. I mean, imagine you could just port over a Yinlin into Zenless Zone Zero's like skeletal rigging. Oh my god, bro. Oh boy, I would... My point is, when you look at all of these top gacha games and all the things that they do well, when you start tallying off all the positive things that they have going for them between like Zenless Zone Zero, Genshin, Honkai Star Rail, you know, Love and Deep Space, Dragon Ball Z, Wuthering Waves. Wuthering Waves just has the most things going for it. It has the most things on the positive tally list right now. If you average everything out, they're just doing the best. That's why I say that Wuthering Waves is the best gacha game right now. Again, eventually, that's probably going to change, maybe once they get through their patch 2.0 main story and start to hit some filler patches, or whatever the heck you might want to say. And yeah, I'm not sitting here being delusional, right? Like, Wuthering Waves has not always been the best. Bro, do you guys remember patch 1.2? Me neither, okay? Because I think collectively we all pretty much like blocked that out of our memory, right? We remember Zhang Li Yao came out, we remember Zhe came out, and it wasn't the best. It wasn't the best. And so, you know, once maybe Wuthering Waves gets past its 2.0 main story and it starts to hit a little bit of filler, maybe you'll see a moment like that happen again. And when that does, it won't be the best, right? In terms of its quality, okay? I understand Wuthering Waves isn't making as much as Genshin Impact is right now, which, by the way, this whole sensor tower thing, this is all just a bunch of bullshit, okay? They will even tell you when they post up the sensor tower, it's only the mobile numbers. It doesn't have all of China's numbers. It doesn't factor in a lot of different things. But to be fair, when you look at this big gap here for Genshin, it's obvious that even if all those numbers came through, Genshin would still be the top earner for this last month of January, which, to be fair, Mavuika did release during that. The Archon is the hype moment. That's going to be the most money they earn in like all of Natlin. You know what I mean? Unless Skirk comes out, and then Skirk might be the highest earning one. My point is, the most earning gacha does not necessarily mean it's the best. Look at Love and Deep Space, okay? I'm not going to hate on the game, but I will say that they don't even have combat. It's just a gooner simulator, right? It's just a girlfriend simulator, or boyfriend simulator. Whatever, you know what I mean? The best gacha is the best quality gacha. It's not about the money per se, but Wuthering Waves isn't exactly doing that bad in that front either. So remember too that a lot of people can't play Wuthering Waves on mobile because it is a more challenging game. It's not as enjoyable on mobile. So if you had the PC numbers or any other numbers that matter more that a lot of people are playing on, I've never played Wuthering Waves on mobile. You know what I mean? Think about that for a second. Most people I know that play mobile only, they don't play Wuthering Waves. So some of them, they're like, Wuthering Waves is missing a great deal of money from this amount here. Keep that in mind, okay? Anyways, you guys let me know in the comments which gacha game you think is the best right now, because this is probably going to change, right? Honkai Star Rail might pick up the pace and actually like perform like we all expected it would with Amphorius, you know? Genshin Impact might surprise us with a crazy amazing filler patch. Zenless Zone Zero might go to its 2.0 soon, and that might blow us all out of the water. So let me know what you guys' favorite is right now, what you think's gonna be the best, and if there's anything you missed in this video, because I'll be honest, I can't cover everything that I think is great about Wuthering Waves in one video, because we'll be here for probably an hour. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.